We all out here. I'm out here trying to climb the Lord's ladder. What's your path to righteousness, path to sainthood, saintly like actions? And then I started thinking, what would it take in modern times in America? Like, what do you have to do to become a saint and be considered a saint? I was thinking about St. Patrick. He became a saint because he got rid of all the snakes in Ireland. Saint Reagan, he became a saint because he almost eradicated all the gays in America by spraying aerosolized a version of AIDS in gay cities. And you might say, like, gay cities? There's no such thing as a completely gay city. Well, because of Saint Reagan. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying I'm okay with snakes. I don't know why I had to get rid of them. But anyways, I guess the way to become a saint is by by eradicating something. So I live in Louisiana, and you do that, I guess, by eliminating all the nutria rats. So I think I'm gonna start a GoFundMe, fund me genociding all the nutria. Well, hey, we don't have to. It's not one of those genocide when you kill them. It's one of those like UN considered genocides when you just move them someplace else. We're gonna pick all the nutria rats and we're gonna put them back in Russia where they came from. So yeah, I think that's my path. And I just want you go on in the comments talking about what's your path, what thing are you gonna eradicate. You're probably gonna do something like really clever, like, yeah, I'm gonna eradicate shitty YouTubers. I'm gonna eradicate dumbass podcasts. That's really clever and fucking rude of you, huh? You think you're so fucking smart with your fucking jokes. I bet you're a little laugh riot at parties because you're so mean to people trying to do something with their lives, pathetic as it is. And we're gonna say you're gonna eradicate black people. Fine, we're doing pretty good on our own on that front. But anyways, that's what I was just thinking about. You gotta think about godliness in these times where things just continue to get worse and worse. Another, I think, something that should, like when you're writing your application for sainthood, I think one of those things you should put on there, if you do it, would be heavy tipping. That should be something that puts you over the top in becoming a saint. Because people struggling for money, and I think I haven't done this work, but person who consumes, who's on the consumer side of it, gig economy stuff, delivery drivers of all sorts of things, it seems, or Lyft drivers as well, stuff like that. I think that's so humiliating to do, and I feel bad that even exists. And it's not so much the actual things, delivering food, or I guess the groceries and driving people around. Nothing wrong with that. People been doing that forever. Milkman, cab drivers, nothing's wrong with that. I mean, the things that are wrong with those things is that they don't get paid anything. Or the milkman just like leaves the milk out on the porch, and I come home and I got like slime, I guess now, or whatever. I don't drink milk, so I don't really, haven't seen it go bad in a while. But it just feels wrong to like support that businesses that just, you shouldn't be in a position where you have to just do that, right? And I feel like each time you give a huge tip, that person is one step closer to maybe not having to do that job anymore, and they can just have their regular first income job. I know a lot of people, they do Lyft professionally, I guess you call it that, but I remember when I had to start using Instacart. Instead of just walking a mile to the grocery store. There was one day that I went, it was like, I don't know, probably like June or something, 2020. It's one of those hot New Orleans days that you feel like, why would anyone live here? It's like the summer, and like from, I guess June, beginning of June technically isn't summer, but from the end of May to like the beginning of September, it was like, why the fuck does anyone live here? It's 104 degrees outside. I am melting on the sidewalk. It's like, it's so hot. Say it's so hot you could fry egg on the sidewalk. The egg died. It's melted. It disintegrated. It blown away. Now I'm cooking. But I just remember that one day, went to Rouse's, and on the way back, holding my groceries in like this big laundry bag, I walked through the college campus, and I see a cat, one of those campus cats, and I'm like, oh, I want I really wanted it. I've been scoping it out for months at that point. I really wanted it, and I already had the name pointed out and everything. I was gonna call him Meowth, and he was gonna be my cat that I had in secret. And I was gonna teach him how to poop and pee outside like a dog, because I don't want to feel like changing litter. So I had the groceries in like over my shoulder in one arm, and the other arm trying to pick up this cat. It was a social cat, so it let me do it. But little did that guy know, he was about to get catnapped, I should say. So I'm walking, groceries in one arm, cat in the other, and I only got like a walk like 2 more blocks to get to my apartment. And you know, I'm going, everything's going. I mean, I'm struggling. Everything's going fine. And I get to like inside the gate. Now trying to walk up to the second floor. I'm walking on the second floor, and I start struggling because I can't grab the rail, right? Can't grab the rail. And I'm almost up, like halfway up the stairs, and I'm starting to fall. And like all good falls, they go into slow motion. And it felt like in that slow motion, that felt like 15 seconds in the air. Me and the cat are battling to see who's gonna take this fucking fall. And the cat won that battle and got away. So luckily for all you cat lovers out there, I was not a successful kidnapper. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so that's why now I get Instacart, stuff like that, because I was just so thoroughly embarrassed. I don't know if anyone saw, but I didn't even look up. I just grabbed my groceries that I was sure about, and went inside and just sadly ate macaroni and cheese that day. Yeah, man, I'm getting depressed thinking about it, 'cause I haven't seen that cat since. Even when I passed by where it lives, I think it might have went to the other side of town, or maybe even upstate. See, I have a net negative effect on the world. You know why? Because I don't have tip as much as I should, and I'm a predator of cats. I love them so much, and that's the reality of yeah. So I think the next topic we might want to talk about. I wrote all these stand-up jokes that, since I think stand-up sucks, it felt like once every 2 months I convince myself that it doesn't stink, and it's worth doing. I'm like, oh, I should write some jokes and then do an open mic. And I'm like, then I actually think about it, it's like, if this goes well, I'll be on a path of becoming a stand-up comedian. This goes poorly, I get this just added to another, add on top of the pile of the scores and scores of time I've embarrassed myself in public situations. So either way, what am I really getting out of this? Trauma in the short term or trauma over the long term? So I think more productive use of my jokes that I wrote is halfway misremembering what the joke was, and then saying it on here, and then you getting disappointed and saying, what are you doing with your life, Marc, in the comments. So this one is titled Convenient Stories. So I guess this was supposed to be like I devised a whole plan. It's like, oh, maybe I hit up some mics, and the ones I do well, maybe I start doing like getting paid but very little, and then after college I can move up north, move to Boston or something, and I could do my down in New Orleans it'd be like this, up here it'd be like this sort of comedy, which is bullshit, but people fall for it. So imagine me, I'm a guy who just moved to Boston from New Orleans, and I'm saying stuff like, up here you'll have bodegas and Wawas But in New Orleans, we got yard bird. And they ain't even sell chicken. You don't even know what a yard bird is. Yard bird is, well, it's a chicken. It's in the yard or whatever. And the yard bird chicken at the corner store, they don't even sell the chicken. All they had was hot dogs with the Kevlar skin. We had to have a fork and knife to eat them hot dogs. We had the gas station / butchery. It was called You Can't Beat Wagner's Meat with the blue-eyed Arabs. Yeah. Fuck this bit. Fuck this fucking bit. It just sucks. And the gas stations in New Orleans are run by Vietnamese people or Arabs. Up here, it's Arabs and the protagonist from GTA 4. Not only was he in a war, he's still killing people right now. I guess that could be funny. If someone else said it. But man, what a bullshit bit. And if someone else did say it would fucking kill. This other one is like, if I was on Saturday Night Live and it says, if I get on SNL, I would do a weekend update where I would get in whiteface and spell what's plaguing America right now. And I would spell NIGHTMARES. Nightmares. Yes, nightmares are ruining America. Plaguing our minds, ruining our hopes and dreams, smoking crack and never paying rent on time, having to subsist on free bird and cheap canned vegetables. Nightmares is what I'm talking about. So, I don't know if that's funny. I don't even know it's funny anymore. You want to do a segment called Random Lines? Let's do Random Lines. So I only got like 5 here. Hey mama, I'm going to the big bitch convention. The horror ambivalence movement. Some people got an 18 plus fetish. Couldn't be me. Calling something retarded is meant to be extremely mean. But doesn't mean I wouldn't raise it like any other child. I'd probably raise it pretty bad. I don't like calling it healthcare. I like calling it doctor. I need doctor. So how about fucking maybe Bernie Sanders need to run a third time and talk about doctor for all? Yeah, I'm a pretty smart and funny guy and sexy as well. Alright. I think someone bought some infomercials, some commercials, some ad space, some AdSense for this. So I'm gonna let that guy. I'm gonna read off his ad. You ever in a devil's three-way scenario, but you remember that safety comes first? Do you also need to feel the feel of flesh to bust? Do you mind doing things that are sus? Then try Uncle's Randy double-headed condoms. When you're getting a condom blowjob from some dumb bitch you met at the bar and your boy are sharing. Wait a second. When you're getting a condom blowjob from some dumb bitch and you want to share friction with your boy, try double-headed condoms. So this is how it works. It's basically a double-wide condom. So your guy, he puts his penis in one end, he puts his penis in the other side, and you're basically both getting blown at the same time. Now, this might be a problem for some of our plus-size gentlemen, seeing that they have more width. But we do make, this is so fucking dumb. Anyways, Uncle Randy's double-headed condoms. It's for the fellas. I don't know. I wrote this down and I got inspired by something. But if I went to school with Bo Burnham as a kid, like I was 12, like in middle school, I'm not a aggressive person. I was a very peaceful kid, wanted to get along with nice people. But I would have totally bullied him. And I wouldn't have bullied him so hard that like he would entrench further into his art. I would bully him so hard that he killed himself when he was 24. Make sure none of this fucking bullshit. Like he would have been a drug addict and killed himself at 24. That's how bad I would bully him, to make sure his gay ass stuff doesn't ever get out. I just had it on my mind because I think bullying is fine because it can weed out some of the sus ones like him. And I don't mean gay. I mean like I I I don't know why you'll resonate with that, but I got recommended a video by some guy who was talking about Burnham is white supremacy or something. I don't know, some dumb shit. Let me Google it actually here. Let me go my YouTube history. Because I don't think my problem with Bo Burnham isn't that. Is that he just sort of like seems kind of gay. Not in that way, but in the other way. It's just sort of lame comedy and it's not that funny. Anyway, this channel called FD Signifier was a video called Bo Burnham's Insight in White Liberal Performative Art, which doesn't like even I should have known this at the time. So this channel FD Signifier, I got introduced to his channel because he got recommended after Antonio Brown had that incident with the Bucks a couple weeks ago. I guess it'll be a month ago from when this is coming out. Yeah, I'm pre-recording this. You think in that other time, couldn't you just prepare more stuff so this can actually be good? No. Anyways, he made a video about the commodification of black athletes and how it breeds a slave mentality amongst, everyone who's in it, but primarily the blacks. And I was like, okay, it resonated with me to some degree as a person who got treated like meat and was forced to play sports, even though I had no business playing sports, never wanted to. It's not that I'm not coordinated or have any athletic potential, it's because I have no business doing something that my heart is not at all in, that I don't find fun, I find very painful, and yeah, no one should be forced to do that or feel pressured by people, or in a lot of cases, the economic situation that is, where that could be like the only way you could get real generational wealth and live something of a dignified life. But what's a dignified life when you spend the first 30 years of your life battering your body, spending so much of your day on something that you wouldn't do otherwise, stuff like that. You're basically a slave to the market via your athletic career, which we all are, just via different things, via fucking McDonald's, via working at the grocery store, via whatever fucking thing. And to not make and this guy, I think Mr. FD Signifier, where he lacks, and where a lot of these black video essayists, or just pretty much all video essays, is just not talking about the main driver in all this. This little thing we got, American capitalism, the American market economy. It's like, you're not going to talk about that. It seems like the problem here, like more than anyone's individual racism or some sort of vague lower, like talking about white supremacy and Pop Warner football. I just don't think it doesn't cohere unless you really connect it to the grander society that capitalism in America has created. And I'm not saying white supremacy isn't a part of that, but it seems a little antiquated to put it like that, in my opinion. So the other thing, so I watched that video, I thought like, okay, it resonated with me, it was fine, and I enjoyed it. But his next video that I watch, and it feels like, why am I going there on this guy? Because no one's going to agree with me. If any of his fans see it, it's not going to agree with me, because it's like, oh, this guy's a faggot. He's a race trader faggot. That's what they'll say about me, but that's fine. I've been called worse. The other video, what was it? It was, yeah, I guess I just went to break bread. It was a video about BreadTube, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty fucking dumb. Because who cares about BreadTube? I mean, I find them annoying because what did I write down here? I find most BreadTube annoying as well because it's a bunch of theater kids, closet racists, and anti-communists who are all talking in a way that can't truly penetrate the hearts and minds of the masses to truly, agitate towards revolution with actual revolutionary ideas, instead of just talking about the flaws of right wingers, and identity stuff like that, or sort of like a histories on oppression, which you don't have to. I guess it's not. It just seems like all the topics that Bread2 cares about, and the way when they do talk about substantive topics, they don't really handle them that well because they're not equipped to. And that's my problem with that. You get deeper in that and critique individual Bread-tubers about like what their class position is or what their moral imperatives are in terms of why they care about politics. And you can talk about the aesthetic of it from just a YouTube's point of view of like what they are as videos and their length, and the theater kidness cannot be underplayed. But if you're not gonna to say like it's some sort of white supremacy, I mean, come on, man. It's fine. Who gives a fuck? The problem isn't that they're white or whatever. The problem isn't identity so much. The problem is that they're wrong about a lot of stuff that they say, and they're not putting the emphasis a lot of times on things as they should, and they're not really original thinkers as well. I've never heard an original thought from a Bread-tuber, really. I've heard entertaining experiences, things that resonated with me, but it's more like let's get together and commiserate about this thing than let's actually think and solve the problems of today so our children have, a solid future. That's the critique. I mean, I didn't watch that whole video because it's just like it seems so eye-rolly. But the other one, the white liberal performative art, for one, isn't all art performative? If you're putting it out in public, it's performative to some degree. Like, even if this video gets 0 views, it's still performative because I'm doing this for a potential audience, and I'm posting this on YouTube to my 1,000+ subscriber channel and onto a website that has billions of users. Maybe not billions, hundreds of millions of users at least. Or maybe it is billions. They got YouTube in China, I guess. So I guess China and India. So that alone, I guess, makes it billions. Yeah. But the real thing, I guess, and I didn't like how he started off the video. He was like talking about Leonardo. Wow, I haven't really said that name out loud before. Leonardo DiCaprio feeling uncomfortable saying the N-word in a movie, and how that's like an example of like white ignorance, because whatever, you should, well, y'all used to saying it to black people, y'all should be used to saying it in a movie or some dumb shit. I'm making him seem more of a shithead than he is. He's an articulate guy, this YouTuber, but he used this the example of why is DiCaprio so averse to saying the N-word in the movie when he's playing a slave master, when he didn't say this, he uses saying the clip from Who's Eating Gilbert Grape in his performance in that, where he's playing a retard boy when he was Arnie Grape, and which is not a very good example to say he's played stuff that's offensive, because it's not really offensive. You're just assuming that's offensive to somebody, to retards, I guess. But that's probably the best portrayal of a mentally disabled person in media, compared, I should say, to fucking I Am Sam, compared to what was that fucking Rosie O'Donnell movie? I think she played a retard once. It's like that was the least offensive thing of any, like, portraying that in movies that Leo did. He did a very good job. That's why he fucking won Academy Award for fucking, what was it? For whatever. And Who's Eating Gilbert Grape. And I feel like at some point, when you become such a proud black man, do you just lose all humor and you just see all white expressions of who they are as like their condition as some sort of white supremacy that cannot be extended out to black people. Like, he talks about how Bo Burnham expresses this dread that white people have in America and, Britain, I guess, as well. And what I don't understand is that we all feel fucking dread. We feel this existential dread. They just have one level more of it because they don't have an oppressor above them in their eyes, like a racial oppressor. It's like, okay, black in America, you can always go back to like, all right, this country really isn't for us, and it doesn't really factor us in anything. But okay, but me and the whites have the same issue in that we live in a pointless society. Is it racist? Is it stupid? Is it whatever? Yes. We live in essentially a pointless society that is not going anywhere, but at the same time has the subtle implication of infinite progress, of infinite duration, infinite direction, where it's not. There's no concept of a finite system, a finite way of life, and a finite direction and destination for these countries, for America, for Britain, for probably a lot of Western Europe, or really all of Europe probably. Where are we going? And if you don't have that on the grand level, on a society, civilization-wide level, what makes you think that's not going to trickle down into the individual level and how we perceive ourselves? We do all this work, especially if you're a comedian and you're just built. You have that personality where you're constantly critiquing and trying to make some deep observations about humanity while not really saying that many punchlines. You're going to see it too. It's going to accelerate it. If you're a college-educated comedian, you're going to see it even more. If you think that you're some sort of if you read a lot of political philosophy or philosophy in general, you read a lot of books, it's going to accelerate that even more. Like, what are you going to think about the fundamental human relations within the country, within the city, within your neighborhood, what they really are like? And you realize that we have all this stuff and it's going nowhere. Like, what are you working towards in your life outside of just making money and trying to keep a roof over your head, trying to have a family, trying to feel the bodily pleasures that a human can have? But on wider than that, what is the point of America? And I have a conception of America where, probably sometime in the mid 1900s in America, we had to grease the lack of a social self, the lack of a real integrated society. I don't mean integrated just racially or whatever. I mean integrated across all cultures that it holds, instead of just making everything white, right? All things going back to just what do people in power at critical points in certain institutions, being elected officials, down to banking with redlining and stuff, and people selling homes or whatever. What is the thing that instead of tying ourselves together and becoming a civilization with a destination, we became a territory somewhat organized by the state, mostly organized by the market, and which its goal was to fill in where sociality would be with consumption. This is pretty much generally accepted as what happened, right? We're going to make a gigantic consumer economy domestically, where we're importing a lot of stuff because we have all this cash, and we can't, since the people in power don't want socialism. They don't want that progress because the wrong presidents came at the right time and made sure the Cold War happened, and made sure that the war with the left wing after World War II was the real war that must be won, and they did win it. So I think going deeper into that direction instead of talking about, I don't know, it just seems one can tell the truth sometimes without lying, one can obfuscate the truth without lying just by emphasizing something else. And I feel when someone talks about society-wide issues, it doesn't ever bring up the word capitalism. It does not talk about the economic reality at all. It's like how serious as a person are you really? You take yourself very seriously, but how serious are you as a person? I don't know. I'm gonna click on this video right now and pause it. Right, I'm just gonna read the comments. I made it to about a third way into the video. I'm sorry if you're like, oh, you didn't watch the whole video, you don't really get it. That's fine, but that's a part of the experience of things, you know. Sometimes you can have an opinion on a show if you didn't finish it all, because that's your experience, right? You didn't finish it all because you didn't feel like it was good enough or didn't capture you in some way. That says something about the thing. But people in the comments, and I guess the main point is just like how some white people they get stuck up in that existential crisis of that non-sociality, I guess would be the word. And instead of having the right position on things or being like an ally, I guess, they end up just doing this onanistic performance of pain, and you see it with like not just of white guilt or whatever, but also with like mental illness. It's they performing out their pain in a way, instead of dedicating their artistic career or just dedicating their adult life to talk about the symptom, cure the symptom, help people become, maybe even in your artistic career, becoming the thing that cures people's pain. I know people do have that. You don't cure the pain by saying I feel your pain. You cure the pain by attacking that hollowness and filling it in with something, not just acknowledging it. But what the fuck do I know? I'm just a fucking idiot who is really bad at explaining his ideas. And this is another joke that I wrote, another bit that I wrote for stand-up that I will never do on stage. What is the diet of the American Nazi? A person diet tells you more than a person has the ability to articulate. Between the combination of the inability for us to understand ourselves and our very high tendency to lie, it's very hard to ever really ever really get information about a person, who they really are, by just talking to them, you know. So average person, you know, you can imagine what the average person diet is. They're probably eating some sort of cereal in the morning, or maybe eating eggs and some sort of grain in the morning. For lunch, you know, they might have some sort of bread and meat sort of thing. And for a snack, they might have some sort of candy or fruit or whatever. And when on the weekends they might eat Pringles, or at their home they might eat crackers or something. And I just, you know, it's a very basic ass thing. For dinner, you have like, one night you got tacos, one night you got spaghetti and meatballs. Sometimes you got a bolognese. Sometimes you got lasagna. You know, whatever people eat for dinner, right? I'm a ghost, so I don't eat. I'm just a ghost, and I'm coming to you from the other side, so I really wouldn't know. But then think, what a Nazi. Could you imagine, like, you think you're so, like, you're a superior race, and you eat Pringles? That seems very, like, just a funny visual to me, like a full, like, skinhead looking guy just, you know, watching college football and eating Pringles. Something about that was very funny to me. I didn't finish the bit though, because, you know, I guess the other thing that I wrote here is that what we do to chickens on factory farms is basically what they want to do to people, I guess. and they hate themselves as much as you hate them. But you know, you don't have to be a Nazi about your alienation. You just self-medicate yourself like all the rest of us with the same food you're eating. But what's stupid about that bit is that them being a Nazi is the cope, which is things that don't people understand. Like people, them being an abomination to society, a guy who just wants to kill it all, that is them. That's them being conscious of that. That is their coping mechanism, saying, you know, maybe one day there will be a regime that just wipes this all away. And they're wrong for wanting to be a Nazi regime, but they're basically right in saying that this should be gone. This should be done away with in some way, not through killing up and enslaving populations or whatever, but rather through maybe getting rid of some of those, you know, consumption-based capitalism and replacing it with a social-oriented proletarian socialism. Like not some consumerist, like Khrushchevite, Red Plenty consumerist socialism. Like some real socialism in like the real sense of the word. A society that exists for its social ends, not a society that exists for profit, not a society that exists for one class to dominate another. Not saying those things won't happen, but that shouldn't be the main emphasis. The main point is solving the problems that we have in society and not cope, and not I shouldn't say coping, not going around them by just paying people off, filling Walmart full of fucking TV dinners, not just, you know, giving out just enough welfare, just enough public programs to keep people afloat, keeping it, not just doing the bare, throwing enough money, just enough money at people, not to fucking revolt. It should be more than that. Society should exist for social ends. I don't know why I even have to put it like that. It shouldn't be so obvious, but I don't know. A victim of communism of the week, Fulgencio Batista. You're a puppet and you're a really shitty one. Anyways, what else do I want to do? I want to talk about Kanye's mind and him being bipolar and how I guess it's going to be a long one today. How Kanye's mind, I mean, I don't know, I really can't speak to Kanye's mind, but I just thought about in the shower the other day about him saying like the slaves could have just freed themselves or whatever. And I remember, I mean, that was years ago. I remember people having a really bad reaction to that because obviously, slavery has certain associations in our minds. Oh, I guess. But anyways, it has certain associations in our minds that you can't talk about it in that way, right? You can't see it that way because it's like you're minimalizing the what's it called? The adversity and how the Confederacy was basically just a militarized state where, you know, everywhere you would go, there would be some militia, there would be some sort of law enforcement, public or private, that would, you know, it was all oriented around keeping these people on the plantation, keeping them enslaved. Of course, there was no section of Southern society where it was like some safe haven. There were safe havens, but it was like hidden, you know. It wasn't inside. It wasn't allowable within Southern society to be a safe haven, I should say, I guess. So everywhere you go, you're in some fucking danger. You're gonna be returned back. You're gonna be punished harshly, or even made an example out of. So, well, I think there's still a truth to say the slaves could have freed themselves, because the way Kanye sees things, Now, I just get this from other interviews as well when he's not talking about stuff like history or whatever, is that he feels that it's the responsibility of an oppressed person to free themselves. With every breath they take, whatever thought they have, it should be towards emancipating oneself, and then and obviously emancipating your people that you're with, that are oppressed with you, your family, whatever. But everything you do should be going towards that end. And if you go back, the way history is presented just in the mainstream about slavery, it makes it seem like, slaves just sort of just did all that work and just did it. And there was like a couple slave revolts here and there before hundreds of years. They were just slaving away, making that money for the white man. And obviously that is the case. Isn't totally the case. I mean, that isn't totally wrong, but we can't account for the mind of who that was. They probably was always thinking about what can I do to leave. There's probably every waking minute was probably thinking about leaving. I can imagine that, but after a while, maybe not. But that's the truth of what Kanye was saying there. And people will say like, oh, he's bipolar, he must be manic, he on a whole other shit. And you're right, he is on a whole other shit, but that's not because he's bipolar. That's because it's the uniqueness of him. And as a person who was friends with a person that had bipolar disorder, or whatever it's called, and during a manic episode, you don't start saying wild shit. You say wild shit, I guess, but not like that sort of thing. You start saying like, I could see every color at once. I know your favorite color is. I know your future. You start saying weird shit, I guess. Like, oh, hey Marc, I stayed up all night and I wrote a whole 3-act play. You start doing that sort of stuff. You don't be like, and I guess it could be related, but I think there's a truth to it. Now, is it true that slaves could have just freed themselves? Obviously not. It's like saying I could just be a billionaire. I mean, technically I could, but it's like there's so many obstacles, and I have such an inability to do so. The cards are very much stacked against me, which I found. You know what I was thinking? This is the other thing. There's like 50 million banknotes in America. I mean, they're worth a lot more than that because they're not all $1 bills. But there's more, like Jeff Bezos, I think it's Bezos. He has more money than there are dollar bills. There are notes, and the worth of those notes as well. Like he's worth like what, 60 billion or something, and I think there's only like. Actually, no, I got it wrong. I think the worth of those notes altogether is like 2 trillion. So, but if you combine all like the Forbes 500 or what's it called, like the top 100 richest people, they have more money as a net worth than money that like physically exists. It all exists as numbers on a bank account, like numbers on paper, which I find very interesting. But anyways, I want to debut this character called ARPA Andy, but I think I'll wait until next week. I wouldn't want to ruin such a wonderful character on being such a bad episode of this, where I make myself look like an ass. But anyways, thank you for watching or listening, and I guess I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.